The night before, we had had some really strong storms come through, so I came out this morning to check on all of the animals and just make sure that they were good and that they had feed and that nothing had happened in the night, and just to check on damage, which we really didn't have much. We just had a few things thrown around that we could need to pick up later on. I was recently gifted this dehydrator from London Sunshine, and I was so excited about it just because I've never had a dehydrator actually. I've always wanted one, but never was ready to bite the bullet and just get it. But I'm so excited to add this to our kitchen tools this year, and especially because we got it just in time for the garden season that is coming up this year. And I just wanted to go ahead and try it out. So I put some blueberries in here because I've been wanting to make some blueberry granola bars for the past couple weeks, but I actually was looking at dehydrated blueberries at the store, and I wouldn't buy them because they had a bunch of oil on the outside. It was sunflower oil. So I decided to make my own so that I could make some blueberries. So later on in this video, you'll see that I do end up making some blueberry granola bars, and I'll have those recipes up on my blog soon. I will have this dehydrator linked down below for you guys, and if you use my code, it's just my name, Sarah Lewis, all in caps, and I'll have it typed out down below for you guys. But if you use that code, then you can get 10% off and save some money. One of my favorite things about this dehydrator is that it is not enormous. Most dehydrators are really big, and this one is a 6 tray. So the more trays that you get, the bigger it is. But I love this one because it is very compact, and it'll be perfect for either in our kitchen or in our pantry whenever we get it finished. Today I'm going to be working on making some granola bars, some oatmeal cookies, and some egg salad. And I'm just going to be making these just as snacks that we can have throughout this weekend because we do have some friends and family coming over. And one of the things that I've learned most is to kind of prep some snacks or sides. That way I don't have to spend the entire weekend cooking if we get hungry whenever friends are over or family. And that way there's always something to eat if someone does get hungry, because I like to be outside, and that's where we spend the majority of our time, especially right now. We're working on getting the garden ready. I'm hoping that will be next week's video, and I'll be able to show you guys all the progress we've made. But we're going to be changing our garden a little bit this year. So we have been spending a ton of time outside working on that. But as long as we have a few things in the fridge or on the counter just ready to go and ready to eat, then it makes it a lot easier, and I can just come in and throw something in the Instant Pot or make a sandwich or whatever for lunch. That way it's just quick and easy, and I can get back outside and help out there or just go back to working on whatever I was working on outside. We have such a surplus of eggs right now, which I feel like that is the common theme. We probably have a few too many hens, but that's okay because I like having the extra eggs to either give away whenever people come over or to sell to people, just whatever the case may be. But we have been working on trying to eat up some eggs, and we've been trying to experiment with some new recipes, but so far we have not found any that we like. Our favorite way to eat eggs is just an egg salad or either boiled eggs. And last weekend I made there's so many different names for it, but some people call it like a Dutch baby pancake or like a German pancake or a mountain pancake, whatever you want to call it. But we tried eating that because it does take quite a bit of eggs. I think we used 8 eggs, and it was so nasty. It was foul. We didn't even eat it, and I don't understand how people eat it. We see it all over social media, so we both wanted to try it because most people say that they love it, and we both said that it felt like we were chewing on a tire. So the chickens ended up getting that, and they loved it. But we're still working on trying to figure out how to eat up some more eggs. So if you have any of your favorite recipes or just any ideas on how to use up a lot of eggs, leave them down below. The best way I have found to get good boiled eggs, especially farm fresh eggs, because sometimes they can be hard to peel, is to let them boil for 12 minutes. And then you're gonna put them in a water bath. Like I pour out some of the hot water and put cold in, and then dump a bunch of ice in there, and I'll let them sit for probably like an hour just in that cold water. And then I will go back and peel them, and they do peel pretty easy. Sometimes you'll just have to work with them, but I find the more that you can bust the shell up, the easier it is to get off. So I bang it on the edge of our cast iron sink until it is like completely cracked all the way around, and then it peels off super easy. While I wait on my eggs to sit in their cold water bath, I am going to go ahead and start making some sourdough oatmeal cookies. And they are actually super easy, but really good. Ben even likes them, which he's kind of picky. So if he likes it, then I say that it's really, really good because he is really picky sometimes. But these cookies, all that takes is 1 cup of starter, 1 cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, half cup of cane sugar. You can also use just regular white sugar, 1 egg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1.5 cups of oats, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour. I know that probably sounds like a ton of ingredients, so I am going to link the blog post down below for you guys. That way you can get the free printable to it. But the next thing I'm going to work on is making some granola bars. So I'm going to actually make 2 different kinds. I'm going to make chocolate chip and then blueberry, just because Ben does not like blueberry granola bars, but it is also a super easy recipe. So all you're going to do is in a pot over a very low heat, you're going to melt 1/8 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of coconut oil, 1/4 cup of honey, and then I do go ahead and mix in my 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and just a pinch of salt. And just as soon as it starts to melt, you're going to turn off your heat, and then you're going to mix in your oats and whatever topping you want. If you're using chocolate chips though, you need to make sure that you remove the mixture from the heat for a few minutes and let it cool down. Otherwise, all the chocolate chips are going to melt and you're going to end up with like a goopy mess. So you do want it to be cool, but these blueberries, it didn't really matter. So I just went ahead and dumped them in. And I don't ever measure the amount of chocolate chips or blueberries I put in. So I will try and measure that out and add it on the blog post. But I would say probably about 3/4 of a cup is probably what I would use. You can use a 9x9 dish or 8x9, whatever the size is, the little square, but I don't have one that size. So I just lay out a piece of parchment paper on my counter, and then you're going to lightly press down the granola bars. You're not going to like press hard because it's just going to stick to your hands and not actually get compact. So just very lightly press it out, and you're going to try and shape it into a square, rectangle, whatever you want, just so it's easier to cut. And then put it onto a tray or cooling rack, whatever you have, and put it in your fridge and let it harden. You can totally leave it on your counter and let it harden, but it will take longer. And I find that they don't harden up like good enough to cut. They still stay a little bit tacky. So I do prefer putting them in the fridge. I completely forgot to mention at the very beginning of this video, I did measure out my oats and I put them in the oven and let them toast. That way you don't have to put your granola bars into the oven and let them bake. So you need to put your oats, measure them out. For each recipe, it's 2.5 cups of oats, and just put it on a baking sheet. And I bake mine at about 250 for probably 30 minutes, and you're just letting them toast. So you don't want them to brown or anything like that. They should come out like a lightly golden color, but they should not be dark by any means because then they're going to taste burnt. Past week, I have been working on getting my blog updated, and I have actually put a new theme on. It just wasn't very efficient before, so I ended up installing a new theme and working on it all of last week, trying to get it up and running, and it should work a lot better for you guys now. That is my hope anyways. But I have changed the layout of it, and also I have changed what I'm going to be sharing on there. I'm still sharing about our farmhouse renovations and stuff, so that is under an our farmhouse tag. But the rest of the content I wanted to be more centered around our homestead. Our homestead is my true passion and what brings me happiness. So I love getting to create recipes. I love getting to share my recipes with you guys. And then I did add a gardening tag on there because I do want to start sharing more about gardening. And I also shared it's called a self-sufficiency and preparedness tag. So I want you guys to be able to go there to get all the resources because I don't really post much on Instagram anymore, and YouTube, I do enjoy it, but it is very, very hard to try and do an in-depth explanation in a YouTube video. You seem to lose a lot of people trying to explain stuff. So the written instructions is just a better place to do that. So the best place for that is the blog. And that is my hope, is that it makes it easier for you guys to find stuff, because I do get a lot of emails and questions and comments and it's hard to keep up. So I'm hoping that now the blog functions better and you guys can just go and search what you're looking for and hopefully you can find it. But if not, you can always send me an email. An email is probably the quickest way that you'll get a response from me. And then second to that is probably comments here on YouTube or on Instagram. But I really have been falling off the Instagram wagon and have not been posting on there very often at all. Next, I'm working on making the egg salad, and egg salad is just so easy, and every time I make it different. I do have a recipe up on my blog for it, but every time I make it, I'll add different stuff. So today I just kept it simple and added bread and butter pickles, but one of my favorite ways to eat it is with purple onion. The purple onion just adds so much. I know some people call them red onions, but whatever you want to call them, the colored purple onions, they add so much flavor. And I don't know, it just changes the whole entire dynamic of your egg salad. So we do like that, but I didn't have a purple onion today. So I just stuck with the bread and butter pickles. And I put probably about half a jar in my mixture. And I'm pretty sure I ended up making this egg salad with 16 eggs, and the rest I put in the fridge just as boiled eggs. I didn't have any mayo on hand, so I did end up making homemade mayo, and I've only been able to do this with an immersion blender, so you do need an immersion blender for this, and sometimes I have had trouble with it turning out, and it is based on the ingredients that you used, I've come to find. So you need to make sure that you are using a really fresh egg. So use one that either got laid the day before or today, so that it will thicken up right, because otherwise, if you use an older egg, for some reason, it will not get thick. It just stays really runny. So I do use 1 cup of avocado oil, and the brand does matter. So this one is from Sam's, and I actually don't like it. I like the Walmart Great Value brand avocado oil a lot better. But all this recipe is 1 cup of avocado oil, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of mustard, and half a teaspoon of salt. And whenever you're putting your immersion blender in, stick it in all the way to the bottom, and you want to make sure you put your egg in first, and that way it'll sink to the bottom. And use your immersion blender, just keep it on the bottom. So whenever you're blending, hold it on the bottom and do not move it. You want to make sure that the egg is getting really nicely whipped, and it should start to turn white, like a pure white color, and it'll look really, really thick. So you want more than probably at least 2/3 of your mixture to look really thick before you start to bring your immersion blender up and then start to incorporate the top oil. So if not, then you will end up with it just turns out really runny if you do not make sure that the egg is blended in really well. I made sure to leave this in real time, so none of it is sped up, and I didn't cut any of it out, just so you could see how long it does take for it to come together. And it is a little bit of a slow process. It's quick in reality, but it's a little bit slow process in the video, and it just seems like it takes it a minute, but it does come together. You just have to slowly work it in. If you add too much oil too quick, it just seems to not thicken as well. So just make sure you go slow with it and take your time making it. After letting the granola bars sit in the fridge for probably at least 30 minutes to an hour, I pulled them out, and I like to use a bench scraper to actually cut them. And you want to slowly go down on them, just because if you push down on them all at once and just try and chop them, then they do bust up. So I would recommend just slowly putting pressure on them so that they don't crack and all the pieces just don't come apart. But if pieces do break off or break up, then put them in a Ziploc bag, and you can always eat them on top of yogurt or just eat them as granola pieces. It is so good on yogurt to eat them for breakfast. But here's a look at the cookies that I made. I forgot to share those. But that is going to be it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe.